Hello, it's your host Janine Esbrand. Today we are going to be doing a rerun episode. There is so much goodness in the archives of this podcast that we thought that over the summer we would bring back some of your most favorite episodes and also some of your favorite interviews with amazing guests. So grab your notebook, grab a pen as we dive in to this awesome episode.
Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because #ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Hello. I am jumping on to talk about how to change industry, get promoted, and secure a salary increase all at the same time. And the reason why I want to talk about this is there are many conversations that happen amongst female professionals who are considering making some kind of move in their career. And the thing that comes up as an obstacle or a barrier to them actually making the move that they want to make is that they assume that making a move is going to require them to take a pay cut, is going to require them to start at the bottom. And so because they've invested so much time and energy in their career so far, they decide that it doesn't make sense to make a move because they don't want to take a pay cut and they don't want to start at the bottom. So I want to talk to you about a practical steps that you can be taking that will help you to be able to make a move without taking a pay cut and without starting again. And the best way for me to demonstrate that is to share with you a real life case study. So I'm going to walk you through what happened for one of my clients who was able to make a move last year, and share with you the 3 things that she did and that she focused on that helped her to be able to move forward into a role that she's absolutely excited about, whilst also being in a better position financially and allowing her to step up into a more leadership position. So let me just give you the background a little bit for her situation. So she had been working in her industry for over 10 years. She had been at the same company for 11 years. And she was at the stage where she was no longer feeling aligned with the values of the organization. And she knew that she wanted to make a change. She knew that she wanted to make a shift. But her concern was, how do I figure out what else I'm going to do? And how do I make a shift in a way that allows me to maintain my current lifestyle? And so she came into my program with a lot of reservations a few months into the pandemic. So she had been thinking about making a move. The pandemic hit, she put it on pause, and then she thought, okay, obviously everything that's going on isn't something that's just going to be a quick fix. So I need to go back and consider what I want to do with my career. So when she came into the program and she was brainstorming and thinking about different options for her and where it is that she wanted to target in terms of making a move, she kept getting stuck in a place of, oh, I've got this idea of what I might want to do, but I don't see how it's possible. I know that I want to make a shift into this industry and I know that I have interest over here, but I don't see how it's possible. And one of the things we work on in the program is helping you to separate what you want to do from how it's going to happen. Because in the stage of exploration, when you're trying to decide what it is that you want to do, if you start thinking about the how too much, you will stop yourself from fully exploring what is possible. Because you'll be like, okay, this sounds good, but how will I make it happen? And because your brain doesn't know how to work that out, because you have no frame of reference for it, you just retreat and go back to, okay, I'm probably going to have to stay on the same path. It's absolutely not the case that you have to stay on the same path. So we did some work around that and helped her to really address her assumptions. That was the first thing that she did, that she worked on, that was really, really impactful. So addressing the assumptions. Many of us have assumptions that we don't even realize are assumptions. We've made assumptions and we've accepted those assumptions as fact, and we act as though they're fact. So for example, the assumption that if I want to move out of the role that I'm doing now and I want to do something else, I'm going to have to start at the bottom. I'm going to have to start at the bottom. And so it's important to address, where does that assumption come from? It comes from our frame of reference in terms of how we got to where we are right now. If you've been working hard to get to this stage in your career, it's likely that you've invested time, energy, money in you getting the education and then acquiring the experience and then working your way up to get to where it is that you are right now. That's what you've experienced. So when you're thinking about doing something else, your natural inclination is to say, okay, well, if that's what I had to do the first time round to get to where I am right now, that's what I'm going to have to do going forward if I want to do something different. So that's the assumption that we make. But the reality is, it isn't always necessary for you to start at the bottom. Why? Because as you've been climbing the ranks in your current role, in your current position, yes, you've been gaining experience in what it is that you've been doing, but you've also been gaining very, very valuable transferable skills. And I know you probably heard about transferable skills before, but it's so true that in the execution of your day-to-day role that you're doing right now, there are skills that you have acquired. There's a mindset that you have developed. There is a logical thought process that you use in order for you to execute your current role. Those things can be used in another setting. Those things, those skills, that awareness that you've developed can be used and leveraged in another setting. So when you're thinking about the assumption that I am a professional with 10 plus years experience, so I'm going to have to start at the bottom, I want you to really think about, well, how could that 10 plus years of experience, how could that serve me differently? How could that be applied in a different setting? How could that be leveraged in a different setting? So rather than assuming that you have to start at the bottom, it's more about asking the question, well, how can I use what it is that I already have? How can I? How can I? Not I can't. Okay. So first thing that my client did was to really address the assumptions around what would be possible for her moving forward. And when she did that, she was able to really open up her mind to the possibilities and give herself permission to just explore. When you write things down on paper, when you brainstorm, nothing is final. Right? So you can do that. You can brainstorm and you can really look into, okay, what might I want to do? What do my skill set, what are my strengths aligned to? And maybe I want to explore that more. Okay. So that was the first thing that she did. Adjust the assumptions and get over the mindset hurdles that hold many of us back. The mindset is such a big piece. Because I can work with you, I can give you all the strategies all day long in terms of how you position yourself and how you move. But if your mindset has not shifted to what you see as possible for you, you're not going to take the action. So the first thing is really to look at, what is my thinking around what is possible, and where does that thinking actually come from, and are there some shifts and changes that I need to make? Okay, so that's the first thing, assumptions. The second thing, when she got past the, okay, I can't do this, to really get into the place where she identified where it is she wanted to go in terms of the industry that she wanted to move into and the type of impact that she wanted to make. Once she got to that place and she identified, okay, this is where I want to be, and she was able to validate her ideas around what it is that she was thinking about, then she was able to mine her career experience, so really dig into her previous career history for relevance. And here's why this is important. You've been doing what you've been doing for a long time. And a lot of the time you're overlooking or you're downplaying the impact of what you've been doing. So if you're showing up and you're getting results and you're used to getting results in your day-to-day role, you may not be looking at the action that you're taking or the results that you're getting as true value and as tangible things that you have done to add value. So for my client, when she was able to take a step back, and we go through an exercise in phase 3 of my career change program, where I ask you to go back and look at your career history and look at the decisions that you've made along the way and look at the experience that you have gained and plot out a timeline to really see it visually in terms of what you've been able to do. When she did that and she looked at her experience and she looked at it from a lens of, okay, if I was wanting to move over here, and I look back at my experience, are there any synergies? Are there any overlaps? And when she did that, she realized that there was so much in her experience in that 11 years that she had spent in her current role, in her current organization and moving around within that organization. There was so much experience that was transferable. There was so much experience that was relevant. And in doing this exercise, not only did she get to a place where she's able to identify pieces of experience that she had, she also got to a place where she boosted her confidence like next level in terms of what she felt she could bring to the table and the value that she'd be able to add in another setting, because she was able to really digest, hey, like, this is what I've done a lot of stuff, We spend so much time in our careers just going on to the next thing, especially if you're a high achiever. I know you're a high achiever, right? You like to get stuff done, but as soon as you achieve a goal, it's like, what's next? And if you're used to doing that, just jumping from one goal to the next, you don't necessarily take the time to really assess what impact have I made? What have I actually achieved? What difference have I made through the work that I've done? So when you slow it all the way down and you really look at what experience do I have and what is the relevance of that experience, it is gold. So for my client, she was able to come out of that process and feel so much more confident about positioning herself for the type of opportunity that she wanted, because she was able to see the synergies. She was able to see the overlaps. Right? So the second thing you really want to do is look into your experience, not from a high level of, I spent this many years in this role and this many years in this role, but what have you actually been doing? What do you actually spend your time doing on a day-to-day? What projects have you worked on? What results have you gotten? What excellent feedback have you got from clients? What approach do you take? What's your style of working? Like all of those things, understanding those to a high level allows you to then articulate the value of those things to a potential employer, even if it's in a different industry. So that was the second thing, really digging into her career history to pull out the relevance. And then the third thing, which was really, really impactful, was her really going deep and understanding the problems that the industry that she wanted to move into was facing, and the real reason why the role that she was going for exists. So the problem that the industry that she was moving into is facing, and the real reason why the role that she wanted to move into exists. And here's why that's important. A lot of the time when we're approaching roles and we're looking at opportunities, we're really thinking about it from our perspective. It's like, I want to move. I want to be in this role. I want to, right? Which is very important. What you want is very important. But when it comes to you securing an opportunity, what is even more important for you to be aware of is, what is the point of this role? Why does it even exist? Why is the company hiring? Because when you can understand that and you can shift your mindset and be like, okay, why is this important to them? The way that you position yourself then changes. So if you're moving into a different industry or a different space, that you understand what the challenges are. And let's be real, when it comes to business, the only reason why business exists is to solve problems, right? In any industry, in any space, in any company, there are problems that need to be solved. Problems for the consumer, problems for the market. And then within the company, there are various problems that need to be solved, which is why you have roles. Okay. But if you understand what the problem is, you're able to move beyond just looking at a job spec and saying, oh, do I tick those boxes? But really be speaking to how you can be the solution to the problem that they are facing, and how all of that relevant experience that you have identified helps you to be the best candidate for the role. And so she was able to do this. She was able to see the overlap between the industry that she was in before, and she was in like the oil and gas space, and see what the opportunities were in the industry she was targeting, which is the sustainable energy space. Now, the industries were somewhat interlinked, but also very different, right? If you think about oil and gas and you think about sustainable energy, the focus is different, the problems are different, the challenges different. But she was able to look at her previous experience and how relevant it could be to this new space, look at the problems they were facing, and then articulate her value around that. And that ability to really understand what she was trying to get into allowed her to position herself not only on her CV, but also, or her resume, but also on her LinkedIn profile, so much so that she optimized her profile. And I remember this distinctly when we had a coaching call where she was like, I've optimized my profile. I've gone through the LinkedIn masterclass that's included inside of my program. And it's crazy because I'm just getting inbound opportunities. I'm just getting people reaching out to me about all of these opportunities because I have made clear what value I bring to the market and what it is that I'm positioning myself for. And so now I'm getting inbound opportunities. And the opportunity that she ended up landing was from somebody reaching out to her because her LinkedIn profile was speaking to what it was that they were looking for. And then once she got into sending off her CV and then having the interviews, and she had, I don't know, in 1 week, she had like 5 interviews in 1 week, because she was just, once she really understood what it is she could bring to the market and then she was positioning herself, it was like, yeah, so many people wanted her because she knew what value she could bring and she was articulating it. And so she was able to really go into those interviews with confidence, understanding what it is she's bringing to the table, which then allowed her to negotiate a higher salary. They made her a great offer, but she was able to negotiate. They allowed her to have the type of flexibility that she wanted. They gave her a promotion, so she stepped up into a more senior leadership position, all because of the way that she positioned her existing experience, not because she had experience within that industry or within that particular industry doing that particular role. It was because of her track record and how she was able to illustrate how that track record was relevant to what it is that she's able to do. So oftentimes we hear people always say, I can't move into this role, or I can't apply for that because I don't have the experience. And it isn't always about the experience, because think about it. She's got promotion into a new position, right? She got promoted upwards. She hasn't done that role before. So when they're thinking about putting her into that role, it isn't based on her track record of doing that role, but it's based on her track record of being able to figure things out, which she's demonstrated from the experience that she's had and the results that she has gotten in the past. Okay, so when you're really results focused and you can speak to the results that you're able to get, it allows the organization or the person in the hiring manager seat to be able to see, okay, if this person got results over here, I can see how that can translate for us, especially if the problems that you were helping to solve there are similar to the problems that they have here. It doesn't have to be the same space. It doesn't have to be the same industry. It doesn't have to be the same type of company. But if the problems are similar and you're able to demonstrate that you can get results for those problems or you can solve those problems, they can see how you can solve them over here. Okay. So for her, that was what really, really helps, like her being able to understand the problem and then linking her expertise and her previous experience to how she would approach those problems going forward. So those were the three things I want to recap for you. Okay. So 3 things that my client did in order for her to be able to change industry, get a promotion and increase her salary. Yeah. 3 things. First was for her to address her assumptions about what would be possible for her in terms of making a transition. What mindset hurdles did she have around what could be possible? Was she seeing what she wanted as truly possible and really addressing those things so that she could shift past them and allow herself to truly be open to the possibility of her moving into an ideal role that would pay her well and that wouldn't cause her to start at the bottom. The second was for her to really dig into her career history and pull out the relevant pieces of experience and results that she'd gotten in the past so that she would be able to easily articulate how she'd be able to get those in the future. And then the third thing that she did was really understanding the problem that she would be solving within her organization and how that led into the industry that she wanted to move into so that she could really speak to it. So that she could speak to it at each of the stages. So in terms of her LinkedIn profile, in terms of her resume, in terms of the interview, understanding what needs to be shared when, and then understanding how best to share those things. Okay, so those were the 3 things that she did that helped her to be in a much better position. And I hope this is of encouragement to you if you're somebody who's saying, yes, I know that I want to move. I know that I want to move into something different, but what's been holding me back is I don't know how. I don't know how I'm supposed to translate my experience so that it is relevant and attractive to a new opportunity. Just know that it's possible. Be inspired, because this is not the only client who's been able to make this type of move. Many of my clients find themselves being able to make a shift in their careers and also step up at the same time and also demand a higher salary and also get a promotion. It all comes down to positioning. How you position your experience, how you position yourself, how you position what it is you're going to be able to do in the role once you get it. Okay, so those are the things that are really, really important. And if you have found yourself going around in a loop in your head around what is possible for you and you're seeing other people doing it, like we are in the midst of, the great resignation. You're seeing people changing roles. You're seeing people changing industries. You're seeing that the landscape when it comes to the world of work is changed. You're seeing that. You're hearing people talk about the fact that it's a candidate's market right now. If you want to move, now's the time to move. But if you're finding yourself saying, yeah, I see that, I hear that, but how though? How do I take the experience that I have and translate it in a way that doesn't require me to start at the bottom, that doesn't require me to take a pay cut? Because let's face it, you've worked too hard for that. You've worked too hard to be having to start all over again. If you're asking yourself how, then I'd love to support you with that, right? So inside of my Career Changemaker program, I guide clients through how they can really get their mindset right, because that's so important, foundational, and then how they are able to look at exploring options that make sense for them, exploring options that allow them to leverage their existing experience, and then how do they position themselves in the marketplace in order to attract those opportunities. And when you book a call with me, you get the opportunity to go through my career change assessment. So even if you decide that the program isn't a good fit, going through the assessment is really helpful, because you're going to look at the core pillars that you need to really be leaning into in order for you to identify the right type of role for you and to make the move as quickly as possible. So when you do the assessment, it's going to highlight to you where you need to be focusing your energies and give you a score, so you know which part of the framework is the first thing you need to be paying attention to. So that's all I have for you today. I'll be back very, very soon. Thank you all for joining, and I will speak to you soon. This episode is sponsored by the Career Changemaker program. Are you ready to make a change in your career? Are you tired of coasting in a role or career that is no longer a good fit? Are you ready to create more impact, feel more fulfilled, and earn more money from the work that you do? If you are nodding your head and what I shared resonates with you, then lean in, because I want to share more with you about the program. This is my signature coaching program that is designed to help you to identify and make your next best career move. I created this program because I recognize that too many amazingly talented women are missing important direction and strategy for their career development and advancement. In the corporate world, there is an unspoken, invisible playbook that determines how you should maneuver to experience the type of career satisfaction that you desire. The problem is, so many women have the playbook with a few pages missing. And if you have pages missing, you're in a position where you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, how can you fix it? So I really want to help you. Let me help you fill in the gaps so that you can understand exactly what is required to take you from where you are now to where you want to be in your career, so that you can feel fulfilled in the work that you're doing, so you can be excited about the work that you do, and so that you can feel the impact that you're making through the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any future episodes. Also, I would love to know what your biggest takeaway has been from today's episode. Come over and join us in our Career Changemakers community over on LinkedIn so that you can join the conversation there.